Welcome to WP Coffee Talk. Thank you to all of our sponsors, and especially to our espresso level sponsors, Helix Managed WordPress Hosting, for both their sponsorship and for hosting our site, and to Expander Digital for both their sponsorship and providing SEO services to us. Now enjoy the episode. Welcome to the next episode of WP Coffee Talk, where I get to talk to wonderful people all over the WordPress community, all over the world. And I am speaking tonight with, I'm going to see if I say her name right. I've been practicing. Marieke van der Rakt.
Very good.
Close enough?
Yeah,
okay, good.
close enough.
She's from a little company you may have heard of called Yoast, which is just a small company over in the Netherlands. So, you know, it's I think maybe people have heard of you.
Yes.
And your company. But it's wonderful to have you here today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. It's always nice. I love being able to talk to other women in the community, especially women who are decision makers and sitting, you know, in seats where they actually have an effect on not just, you know, one little corner, what's on their desk, but where they're actually making decisions that are affecting other people, and being able to see how women in WordPress can have a huge impact on the WordPress community. And so when you took over as CEO for Yoast, I was very excited and you know, to see that and to see what would happen and how you're empowering other women. So I just think it's wonderful. So congratulations on that. I know that was earlier this year.
Yeah, thank you. You make it sound really big. Well,
it kind of is. It's not scary.
It is. Within my hat. So we're just in this little corner of the world, and it's just our company, and we have 90 people, so it's a big I think it's a big company, but still we're in this small town, and sometimes you forget how big, well, our community around us is. We just forget that we're just doing our thing and building a bit of Legos, and then all of a sudden you have like 10 million users. I think we have like 10 million users. So
yeah, that's not insignificant for sure. No. As a matter of fact, and you know, you've seen the questions, and other people who've heard the episode or the episodes before know that one of the questions I ask is, you know, what are 2 or 3 must-have plugins? And at least I would say, and this is anecdotal, I haven't actually done any analysis yet, but I think at least 70 to 75% of the people say Yoast.
Oh, that's great.
So, I know, right?
I would say Yoast as well. Yeah.
So it works. You know, I wrote a post the other day for advancedwp.org, and I put all of my information in there, and I looked to see what the analysis was, and I still had the red not so happy face. And so I tweaked it because I hadn't put in the snippet yet and all of that. So I started to fill in all the blanks, and like within 2 steps it turned green, and I was like, yes. I'm learning this stuff.
Great.
So it's exciting.
Yeah, I have the same thing, and whenever I don't have a green bullet, I always, I get really frustrated because I'm like, why don't I have a green bullet? So I get why people are frustrated as well. I have the same.
I mean, and it's okay not to have every single thing. It doesn't have to be everything.
No, but I use, especially in the readability analysis, I hear the voice of my colleague who built that, who is a linguist, and she's also a developer. And I always hear her voice in my head saying, "Your sentences are too long, Marieke." I know she will just frown upon that if I don't have a green bullet in sentence length. Yeah.
The readability, I tell people, if you're writing technical, your readability will never be green, and that's okay.
That's okay.
It's the technical terms, but yeah.
Although Irene will not agree with you, but it's okay. No, it's okay. It's just for Google, it makes it a little bit easier to grasp the understanding of your text, and I think for your readers as well. But of course, this depends on your audience. And
your audience always, So I always say, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do. So we know your name and we know your seat, but tell us a little bit more about Marieke.
Okay. Hello, I'm Marieke. I'm 38 years old, and I'm not planning to get any older. I think this is good. I'm married to Joost de Valk, who is the founder of Joost and the former CEO. And we have 4 children together. So we have 3 sons. Our oldest is 13, and we have a daughter who's 10, and my other son is almost 8, will be 8 next week, and we have a son who is 4. And so we are quite busy because we have
Yes.
a company and those 4 children, and our lives are really, well, we don't have a private and like a company life. It's all mixed together. So our children are regularly at the office, and vice versa. So we're also doing work from home. Before I started working at Joost, I was always interfering. So Joost started at our attic, and we weren't living here yet, but in a smaller house. And I was always interfering, but I had my own career back then. So and I was a researcher, and a teacher at the university,
Okay.
and then this thing started to grow, and I wanted to be involved. So at one point of the time, I had to choose to get on board because I couldn't do both. And that's about 6 years ago, I think.
Okay.
And then that company, well, Joost actually named the company Joost because he wasn't planning on hiring any people. Yeah, that didn't work out. But we just thought he would just do this by himself. But
Right.
I was just thinking about that because I wrote like 10 years post because the new decade is coming up, and we're almost our company almost exists for 10 years. So today I wrote that post, and we thought he would never hire any people because he isn't the best manager. So he said, I shouldn't do that. I should just do this for myself. And 10 years ago, WordPress wasn't that big yet.
Right.
So we just grew alongside of WordPress. So we had a lot of luck as well. It's just, yeah.
I love it. That's a great story.
I like to read, and I do a lot of exercising. I used to do ballet, but I stopped for a little bit. I wanted to take that up again.
Oh,
And
you should then.
Yeah.
That'd be fun. You should put a bar up in your house with a big mirror so you can practice.
Yes, I should do that.
Maybe in the attic where you don't have to have the company anymore.
Yeah, but now we have so many children.
I know.
My son is in the attic now.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, the next question I always say is show us your mug. So I see you've been drinking, but let me see what's your mug.
This is my mug. It's a Dutch mug, but then it has an English text. Yeah, it's a Dutch brand, and I'm not drinking coffee because I don't like coffee, so I'm drinking tea. But that's okay, right?
I have, whenever I'm speaking to other women I admire, I have my Wonder Woman mugs. I love Wonder Woman. I have about 8 different mugs. So this is one of my newest ones. And in honor of you, you can be Wonder Woman like me. And I'm drinking water because I've already had far too much coffee today.
What time is it where you are?
It's 2:40 in the afternoon.
Okay. Yeah.
So if I keep drinking coffee, I will never sleep tonight. So
get that.
At some point, you have to get some water in you too.
Yeah. I was talking about it with my colleague. I said, yeah, I don't like coffee, so I'm just going to drink tea. And then he said, why don't you just drink wine? And I was like, no, I can't do that.
I've done that. On Saturdays when I come in and do some Saturday coffee talks, sometimes I have bourbon.
Okay.
Sometimes I have wine. It's my podcast. I can drink what I want to.
Yes, I want to make a good impression, so I'm just drinking tea now.
Well, then afterwards, you go have a glass of wine after.
Yes, I'll do that. It's like 8:30 in the Netherlands in the evening.
There you go. Yeah, that's perfect time for some wine.
Yeah.
So tell us, how did you get started with WordPress? So I know how you got started with the company, but how did you start with WordPress?
Well, the same, I guess. So Joost was already doing WordPress. And I had a website because I did a PhD and I had to have a website. So that's the first thing I ever did in WordPress. And he, of course, built it and I wrote things in it. Mm-hmm. And Joost made websites for all of our relatives. So that's what I started writing, I guess, in those websites. And then I just interfered with the company and went to WordCamps. First alongside of him and then just by myself. So he just dragged me into it. I can't say that the other way. He just dragged me into the community. And that so I before I knew any of it, I thought it were only going to be developers.
Mhm.
And so my first WordCamp was WordCamp Europe in the Netherlands, first WordCamp Europe.
Mhm.
And I then saw all these people who weren't developers also there. So that made me see that there was a place for me as well within
Yeah.
that community.
Yeah. I'm not a developer, so that's one of the things that I love about the community is it doesn't matter where you are and what you
Yeah.
do with WordPress, there's a place for you.
Yes. Yeah, but I didn't know that. I didn't realize that before I went to a WordCamp.
Yeah. I think WordCamp or meetups are one of those places where the lights come on, as we
Yeah.
say, and like, oh, I didn't realize. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear from more people who just think, well, this is a technical conference. I just went along because he was doing a talk, but he wasn't even doing a development talk but when the first time. So I don't know why I thought that. I thought this was going to be something I wouldn't understand anything about, but that
Yeah.
was.
Yeah. And you make so many friends too when you
Yes.
go to camps, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. I have friends all over the world now. I feel like anywhere I go, I could call somebody and say, hey, let's have coffee or tea or whatever you like.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
we whenever we go somewhere, we all always. Well, I always. So we went to Peru this year, and then we did a meetup there because I was like, if we're going to Peru because my best friend was going to get married there, so it was
Mhm.
totally a private thing. But we ended up doing a meetup in Cusco, which is in the
Oh,
mountains near Machu Picchu, because I thought, well, there will be people there doing WordPress.
there's people everywhere.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, but
wonderful.
that means that every vacation we take, we always end up doing a meetup or going somewhere, or But
Kind of
that's
feels like you're meeting up with friends then, because it's like, I know
yeah,
these people, they're my people.
yeah, they are. And if you are all the way in Peru and will never be there again, then we at least can ask, are you doing a meetup when we're there? And usually when we say that, they're just going to organize a meetup because we're there. But
Right.
that's great fun. Yeah.
Yes, for sure. That's
Yeah.
wonderful. I love that. When you look at people's websites and websites all over the world, what do you think is something that as a community of developers, designers, web builders, what's something that we aren't focusing enough attention on that would make websites better for the end user?
I think so. We have all of our websites, well, not all of them, but a lot of websites are aging, are getting older because we started them a few years ago. So a lot of people have a website that's older, and then the purpose of that website is changing. So I think people, and that's the first step in marketing, are forgetting to ask, why did I build this website? What do I want people to come and do here? And that could have changed over time. At least at Yoast, it really changed over a period of time. So you have to ask yourself the same questions over and over again in order to get that aligned with what your visitor is searching for or looking for at your website.
Mhm.
So I think if you're not doing that correctly, then all the other things don't matter. So just asking why do I have a website? What do I want people to do here? That's the most important thing.
Yeah, I agree. If they don't know what to do when they get there, there's no point, right?
No, and this, yeah, and you see, so this is to do with your menu. Does your menu reflect what you have on your website? And in a lot of cases, it just doesn't. And
Right.
we have altered it a few times because we also noticed, well, we're saying here things, but are people looking for that? Are
Right.
people coming to our website for these kind of things? So
Right.
that's like a really important thing, I think, to ask
And
yourself.
websites are living things. It isn't like you carved it in a stone and now you can't change it. You can
No,
change it today, tomorrow, next week, and make sure that it's always reflecting what you would want
yeah,
people to do.
yeah, but
That's
then
really good.
you have to just be aware of what you're doing. And
Right.
sometimes you just forget a little bit. It's like so I always, when you buy a new house and you have this brand new closet and you put all your clothes in it, then it's all neat and tidy. But then after a year, you've bought new clothes and it's all messed up. So then you have to clean out your closet. Yeah, you have to do that with your website as well.
I agree. Absolutely. And that's a really good analogy. I like that. I might have to tweet that out for later and quote you.
You can do that.
Okay, good. When you think back over the time that you've been using WordPress, what's something that you've learned later in your journey that you wish you'd known sooner that would make your life easier?
Oh, that's a hard question. Well, in the WordPress community, I would have liked to learn that it's not as scary as I thought it would be. And that would have made it much easier in the beginning to stand on a stage or talk to people, because it's not that scary. And I also think I was scared of developing as well. So I'm not a technical person, and I usually try to get away from it as far as I can. But actually, it's not that hard. So I should have just dived into it a little bit earlier. That would have kept me from being so afraid of or I'm always afraid that I will break the site. I never break the site. Yeah, so you should just dive in, and learn, because it's not that hard.
Right. I mean, to build some of these big things, yes, you have to have a lot of skill and knowledge, but to be able to tweak things and work, I've broken a site or two, but it's easy to roll back and fix it, and learn from it, So I've never broken the Give site though, just, for the record, only my own sites.
I never broke it. I broke my own site as well. I never broke the Yoast site either.
That's good.
Yes.
Knock on wood.
Yes.
As long as it's not us, we're good. When you think back of the different WordCamps you've been to, the meetups you've been to, is there a moment or two that were really inspirational to you, that was maybe a pivotal moment that you can point to, that you met somebody, or you heard a talk, or you gave a talk that really made a difference for you? And what was it?
Well, so my first WordCamp, which was the WordCamp Europe in Leiden in the Netherlands, I met Matt Mullenweg. That's my first WordCamp, Matt Mullenweg. And I saw Miriam Swab talking, and she's been an inspirational person for me. And she had, I think it was a technical talk that she did, but I understood it. So I was really, and I was really amazed that there was a woman on stage with even more children than I have. So that really inspired me to do the same. So that was, I think, that WordCamp was an eye-opener for me, because I never wanted to go to WordCamps before. And then that WordCamp made me go on Twitter as well. I'm not that active on Twitter, but that was a moment that I thought, oh, well, Twitter is a nice place because everybody is meeting there as well. Yeah. And of course, I've talked at WordCamp US, not this year, but last year, and that was a great moment as well, I think, in a big hall and a big stage. That's a great thing to do. Yeah.
That's always exciting, for sure.
Yes. Yeah.
And your heart beats a little bit faster because it's exciting, and a little bit nervous, and then you get up there and you get going. Yeah.
And I always talk a little bit faster than I used to, but it was a good thing. And I presented together with Joost, and we did that before. And I always like presenting with him because we make a lot of jokes, and it's a nice thing to have that together. Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. That's very nice. So when I think of CEOs of other companies, sometimes the CEO of a company is maybe good at human resources, or they understand, like, for example, they might understand the WordPress community overall. But when it comes to you, so I was watching on the Do Summit Good for WP and Up a few weeks ago. You were on, I think, a couple hours before the Give team was on. So I was watching, and I was listening to you talk about how to use Yoast and how to do SEO for nonprofit websites. And I thought to myself, now this woman is amazing, because she also knows her product in and out, and she knows that niche, or that niche of the field about about SEO as well. So it seems to me that you're very well-rounded sitting in your seat. And so I was very impressed with how much you are aware, not just of one area, but about, like you say, the whole community and developers and designers, but also that you can speak so much of your product and be able to teach it as well. So what is your favorite thing about what you do as CEO?
You're so nice to me. I don't feel like that at all. So I just feel like I know a little bit of a lot of things.
I'm never going to bring a guest on and say, oh my God, you're terrible. No.
I get that.
But I was impressed. I did listen to that whole talk, so that was really good.
So I think I know a little bit of SEO, but it's especially in the copywriting thing. So in the readability and textual things, that I really know a lot about that, but I don't know a lot about technical SEO, and I always get questions about that, and then I don't know how to answer them. I think so. So Joost, my husband, knows a lot about SEO. He knows everything about SEO, and he knows everything about WordPress, which makes him the best product guy there is. And I think he's a great inspirational leader, but I don't think he's the best people leader. And as much as I love him, I don't think he's the best at doing that. And when I was not the CEO, I was already doing that. So growing a company and making sure that you have, like we now have 90 people, which means we have a new management layer and we have to have new ways of communicating with people. And that's hard because it used to be, I used to know everything about everybody, and I still know everybody's name and all of their partners' names and all of their children's names, and I'm willing to learn pets if that's important to the people. But I can't know anymore if someone's father is ill. I can't just do that anymore. So we're trying to set up this layer between us, but that makes me a bit more, a bit more a boss and a bit more distant. And that's something I want to get that company up and running and remain the same family without that really personal thing, because you can't do that anymore with 90 people. So that's what I've been doing this year, and I it's going good, but there's still people who feel like a lot of has changed. We have people who've been working for 7 years. So we have our first secretary was our secretary, our HR department. She did lunch, she did everything. And now she's only in HR because all the other things we've hired people for that. But that's hard because your job just gets taken away from you all. So a lot of people have to get used to a growing company. And that's something I really like doing, and I hope I'm good at. Don't know. We had a good employee survey just now. Most people are really happy working at Joost, but of course there are always people who can't get used to changes and things. But our company is always changing, so we have to get new things up and running. So, and I like doing that. But I think in order to be a good CEO, you have to have some knowledge about the outside world again as well. Yeah, and I like talking on stage as well. Yeah,
it's fun. I like it too.
Yeah, it's fun. Yeah,
it's like, how many WordCamps can I apply to this year?
yeah, I do. I haven't done this many. Last year I did so many. This year it's been okay.
Yeah.
But I like that as well. And I like, I'm going to talk at the first real SEO conference next year, because I've only done WordCamps, and on WordCamps, people aren't SEO experts. So that makes me feel comfortable to talk about SEO, because there won't be anyone in the audience who is going to... No! Well, a little bit, but not like a total audience with all SEO experts. But this year I'm going to do an SEO conference, so I have to... Yeah, I'm going to do that.
Good for you. I like that. When you became CEO this year, I read one of your posts that talked about how to empower the women within Joost. Yes. And I even commented on that blog post. There was a lot of really good information on that blog post. So, and I saw that you were asking people for ideas and inputs and things like that. So can I ask you what you've been doing with that and how you've been empowering women?
Yes, so so I've set up this project, and we're going to do the same next year because it was a lot of work. So it's a 1-year program, and I have 5 women at Joost who participate. And what we did in the first 3 months was all about them, or I call it you. And we read 3 books. We read Lean In, Sheryl Sandberg, and we read the book of Melinda Gates, which is called Moment to Lift, and we read the book. Oh, that's really hard. It's an Inferior. It's called. It's about research and about how men and women um, are 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 treated differently in research and all these things about it. And I made a lot of exercises which made all the women think about themselves. So we just talked about how it was to be a woman, what they encountered in a sense of discrimination or something, or felt like they had holding them back. And now we're in the phase that we're looking at our company. So we're now going to do a survey amongst our colleagues. We've checked out whether or not we have a wage gap. We don't, but
Good.
that's good. We're really happy about that as well. And so we are looking at things we might be able to improve within the company. And then in the final phase, which is going to be like in the new year, we're going to put those two together. So we're going to see what these women can do within our company and to empower themselves. Yeah, it's great fun. It's a lot of awareness for women who just thought, I never thought about this before. And so it's a bit therapeutical as well in the group, but great fun to do. So I really enjoy having put up this project.
That's wonderful. If you have an opportunity to obviously not share specifics of specific women, but to put out how you organize the project for other companies to kind of follow that lead, that would be wonderful. I would love to
open source it.
Yeah, I was going to say it that way. Yeah, that's a great way to think about it, is because there are, WordPress companies are growing, Give is growing, other companies are growing. And from a typically male dominated industry, it would be wonderful to be able to have women helping other women.
I'm just a little bit too conscious right now because it's not perfect English yet, but I should do that. So I already thought this is way too much work to do this once, because I made all these exercises to make people really think about them and read all these exercises with each other. And then you have like great talking material because everybody had made an exercise and thought about what they thought about. We watched a lot of TED Talks as well.
I love TED Talks.
Yeah, we did a lot. And the Netherlands is, so we have a very high participation of women working, but most women work part-time, which is great because you can have your children and a career, but men don't do that. So it's only women who do, and the children and the career. And we have like 50-50 male and women working, but also within Yoast, women tend to work less. And it's not something we need to change, but something to be aware of.
Absolutely, yeah. And to be able to see what the needs are and how to meet them.
Yeah, because it's harder for a woman who works only 3 days a week to grow into a management function. Because if you're not there for 2 days a week, it's hard to get everything and to be in all the meetings. It's just really challenging.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. Absolutely. So yeah, I would absolutely love to read that. And don't worry about the English part. Find somebody like me who says, I want to read that, who can then, tweak the English for you.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah.
We'll talk to me afterwards. We'll figure out a way to make it happen. I love that kind of stuff.
I should do that. But I want I'm going to do that when the year is finished. Then I'll have the entire year filled. Yeah.
I think that's great. That's a wonderful idea. Something really to look forward to. Absolutely.
Great.
So what are you looking forward to most in the next year, as you've now almost completed 1 year as CEO? What are some of the things that you could share? Obviously, I'm not asking you to share trade secrets, but anything you could share that you're really looking forward to as far as growth with Yoast or projects that you're putting together?
So so this year we did a lot of technical depth, which is boring, but really important. And next year we are going to reap the fruits of that, because we're going to roll out a lot of new features. So we have some technical depth features. The indexables is something that's coming up, which will not, it will make our plugin a lot faster if we do it great, which is great because we have a really bulky plugin, and I'm promised it will be a lot fast. So that's going to be great. We're going to do a lot of schema. And so this year we started, so Joost is actually behind most of our product ideas, which is great. But I thought it would be a good idea if other people were also going to think about product. So we did a project which was called the Product Focus Project, focusing on product. And all the employees were allowed to come up with ideas and present them. And then we voted to which idea was the best. And we're going to make and implement that. And that's something that's really hard. So Joost is now struggling with that because I said, we're going to do this. We all voted this. We're going to do it, but it's a really big project. So I think we'll do it in little bits and pieces. But it's an inline advices. So we only give advice at the bottom of your, and we want to give advice while you are typing in your text and give you feedback while you're writing your meta description and stuff. So that's something we're also working on. Yeah, we're working on a lot of things, but it's 2020 has to be the years of the many features. We talked about that because this year we did so many things where we did which were needed because our code base was old or old-fashioned, but which weren't that useful to our user. Well, in the end it will be, but
but it's not as visual, perhaps. They're not seeing it, right? Yeah, that makes sense. I often wonder, and I'm not asking for you to give me your bank statements, but I often wonder how, when you give away so much for free, that your company makes money, because the free product is phenomenal. And so many people can use the free product. So tell us what the benefit is of buying in,
of the premium. Well, I think the redirect manager is really useful. We have an internal linking feature, which isn't that great yet, but we're rolling out a new one, and it's really going to help with your site structure. For every site that is growing, you need to have that internal linking structure tool. And I think for all of the English speaking people, because we haven't rolled that out in all the other languages yet, we only have English and German, we have morphology recognition, which means you want to rank for a certain term. So you want to rank for ballet shoes, but then you also want to rank for the word ballet shoe and maybe for something that's related as well. And our plugin, the free version, only does the exact max keyword, so recognition, but the a premium one also recognizes plurals and past tense, and when words are not next to each other. So it's much more advanced in recognizing the words in the texts. So I think that's a really great feature as well to have. And
definitely worth the investment.
Yes. And we're rolling it out for more languages. We're doing Spanish and Dutch. Dutch is rather easy for us, but still it's really hard because all of the grammar rules in all these different languages are different.
So different.
All these linguists working at it and making rules and then developing it into plugin. Yes.
That's great. And not only are you a company that is giving away your product, a very good product for free, and of course you have the premium product, but you also have the Yoast Academy, and then you also have some, and I'm forgetting the names of them now. You did talk about them at the Do Summit Good, the Diversity Fund.
Yes.
And the other one that I can't remember. What's the other one?
The Care Fund, the Community Appreciation Reward. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And those are wonderful. So just before we move into the last part of the interview and those rapid questions, tell us a little bit about how you're giving back to the community through those.
So the Diversity Fund we've built that because I think it's really important to have role models of traditionally underrepresented groups like women, but also people from a different color on stage. So if people are accepted to speak at a WordCamp but have limited financial means, we'll accommodate them. So they'll get the flight and the stay, and then you just only have to be there. So that's the Diversity Fund. And the Care Fund is, well, I often meet people and then I think, I wish I could just give you a job, but you can't give a job to everyone.
Right.
Because sometimes people don't fit, and sometimes, yeah, well, we just can't hire everyone. And I thought we should like give something to them to reward them. And that's turned out to be the Community Appreciation Award, the CARE. And what people can do is they can nominate someone who they think deserves a reward, and they'll get $500, and we'll make a blog post out of it to celebrate them. So the idea is to give them props and tell everyone how amazing they are, and give them a little bit of money for their contributions to WordPress.
And how often do you do that one?
I think we've already given out all of them this year, but we're doing one every week or every 2 weeks.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
We have like $25,000, which are reserved, and the diversity fund is not that more people can apply for that, but we can't give it all away. So we tell more about that.
That's wonderful. And I saw one of my friends, I think it was Kathy Druin, won the Community Care Award. It was so nice to see. It's nice to see anybody win those kinds of things, but when it's somebody you know and admire, then it's even extra special.
Yes. Oh, great. Yeah.
So that's wonderful. So thank you for those contributions to the community.
Well, you're welcome.
And they're well appreciated. Yeah, for sure. And the fact that you sponsor so many WordCamps and things like that too, and make it possible for people to attend. So thank you.
Great. You're welcome.
So I'm going to move into my rapid fire questions. You can take as much time as you need to answer them, of course. Okay. So I know at least one of them I think that you're going to suggest, I think. But what are 2 or 3 plugins that you would recommend to somebody building their own website?
Oh, it's hard because I'm not a technical person. I think you should do Yoast.
Okay, good. I was hoping you were going to say that.
Yes, and if you don't want to use our plugin, please use then use another SEO plugin, because you need an SEO plugin. Yes. And then you need to have something with your site speed. I think you need something to have your site speed. Mm-hmm. But I don't want to say that something is better than the other, but you have a site plugin, because that's really important for your SEO as well. Yes. And then what else do I like to use? We use Wool. Mm-hmm. That's very convenient if you have a web shop, of course.
Yes, for sure.
I also have a plugin which makes my backend pink. I don't know the name of that plugin, but my backend is always pink.
I love it. So your dashboard is pink.
Yes. Yeah, I would recommend that to everyone. It makes your life so much more fun to look at.
That's wonderful. Yeah, because there's only a limited number of colors you can choose if you don't use a plugin.
Yes.
So. Yes.
Perfect. And it wasn't because I was afraid that, because every now and then we'll check whether we have all those plugins, because too many plugins is not a good thing. And I'm always afraid that they'll take away my pink dashboard, but they never do that.
No, that one probably doesn't take up much space. It's probably a very, very small plugin for you.
Yes.
That's wonderful. You'll have to send me which one that is later, so I can do the same.
I don't know.
That's wonderful. At any point in your WordPress journey, have you had a mentor, and who was it?
I think Joost was my mentor. It still is. He's just he's my mentor in introducing me and everything, but he's also been my mentor in explaining how open source works. So he's been into open source before WordPress even. So he chose WordPress to build a website because it was open source. And I really love talking with him about the web and about how the internet should work, and about why open source is the best way to go. So he's my mentor for sure. Yes.
That's great. And do you find that you would recommend maybe even to the women in your group that they have mentors and people that they can turn to?
Yes, I think that's really important. So you need someone, and I usually I usually like it to be a woman, but Joost isn't a woman. But you need someone who believes in
Yeah.
you and sometimes takes you by the hand and just introduces you and makes you feel comfortable. So yes,
Yeah.
seek someone you look up to and ask, or you can ask them, or sometimes it just
Yeah.
flows and helps you. Yeah.
Yeah. Or hiring a coach that works sometimes too.
Yes. Yeah.
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 So, who is somebody, and I know we talked a little bit before, this is the hard question, especially for somebody who knows so many people in WordPress, but who is somebody in the WordPress community that you admire and why? And you can pick a few people. You don't have to just pick one.
I admire Matt Mullenweg. I think he gets a lot of criticism, and sometimes it's correct and justified. But the way he's been handling it, it's just, he deserves a huge amount of respect for doing that. I also admire Josefa Hayden, because I think she does a wonderful job connecting people. Same goes for Andrea Middleton, also like a really nice lady, but she does a great job. And I admire Miriam Swab, who just is like this force, and she just made a different company, and she does that with, I think she has 6 or 7 children. That's something I admire, because I'm trying to run a company and have a family as well, which, well, challenging. Yes.
It is challenging for sure. And I only had one child and I was challenged, so I don't know how you all do it. That's great.
Yeah, well, it is hard, and I think so. My children are my number one priority, but that sometimes is also hard, making that all work together. Yeah,
absolutely. What's something that you would still like to learn in WordPress, but you haven't learned yet?
I would like to learn how to write code at one point, but I don't think I'm going to learn that next year, but I think I should. So I can write a little bit of code, because I used to do a lot of programming into statistical analysis, and I never even understood that that was code. So I'm just doing that. And then I looked, I sometimes look at the code of my colleagues, and I say, oh, but I do understand that. So I think I should be able to learn how to do that. I'm going to learn that at one point in my life. Yeah.
It's on my list as well. Someday. What is one of the biggest WordPress mistakes you've ever made, and what did you learn from it?
We've made so many mistakes. Well, recently we've put a banner in our plugin, which wasn't a good idea.
I think I heard about that on Twitter a few hundred times.
Yeah, well, so that was a mistake, but we've made more of them, and the fact that your plugin is so very large makes it hard to not make a huge mistake. Because if you do something wrong, and that could be like the banner was something we just didn't think through enough or talked about enough, which happens, it really does, because it did. But we also sometimes have like a compatibility issue with another plugin, which is an immense problem. So we've invested in making like a really large team that tests everything. So we have a very professional testing team, which makes sure that all of the big plugins collaborate with a new version of Yoast SEO. But still, every now and then something just gets lost. And then, well, if our product is used by 10 million people, if only 1% has a major issue, then that's a lot of people.
It's still
so
a lot.
Yeah, that's a lot of people. So I think the banner was our recent biggest mistake. We made a lot more. And we also did some projects which didn't work. We built themes once. Nobody wanted to buy our themes. That just wasn't something that we should do. So I think what we learned is to at least stay within our niche and not try something out of that, because we're not good at that.
Yeah. No, I think that's good. And, as far as like the banner goes, I know that some people were really upset about it because of how they're customers. Like they are the developer, their customer. And I still think that if that was the biggest issue, it's not an issue, because nobody's site stopped working. Nobody's, none of that kind of thing. And one of the good things that did come about because of it was it really got conversation going about the dashboard and how and what responsibilities are around the dashboard and that kind of thing. And that's a healthy conversation for us to have as a community.
And it's like a major blank in our head, but we weren't the first to do that.
You were not.
No,
Yeah.
we saw it in other plugins. The only thing we didn't realize is that lots of people use our plugin, but didn't use all of the others. So for a lot of people, this was the first time they encountered something like that.
Yeah.
And we should have realized that, but that's just being in like a small corner of the Netherlands. just didn't think. We just thought, oh yeah, other people are doing this as well, which isn't like a reason to do that.
But still.
But that was the reason why we didn't think that people
would be an issue.
Because we thought everybody is already used to that, which was a total major flaw in our thinking. But I think it's a good thing that people started talking about it as well.
Yeah,
especially if plugins get these auto updates things, most people get like our premium plugin if we have an update. That's when we sell. So if the automated updates come, then we don't have that anymore. And that will be, then we need something else. So I think automated updates in itself is a good idea, but that would make it hard for us to sell plugins. So we need to think about a different way to get those stuff. Yeah.
And that should be a community conversation. Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. So for what it's worth, I'm behind you. I'm in your corner, and I appreciate the conversation around it for sure.
Yes.
So what's your proudest WordPress moment?
My proudest WordPress moment. I think it was last year on stage at WordCamp US with Joost, together with Joost. And it also was the moment that I was CEO and I got so many nice responses. So these are the moments that make it all worthwhile, which make Twitter a nice place to be. We always, and we'll have that the day after tomorrow, we have our Christmas party, and we divide 20% of all of our profits are divided between our employees, and we're going to tell them how much that is, and that's always the best moment of the year. So we have like a nice dinner and we're going dancing afterwards. So these are always proud moments to be like with all of the people and have like a really nice evening, which is great.
That's wonderful. Oh, that's great. I hope you have a wonderful time.
I hope so too.
I'm sure you will.
Yes.
If you weren't working in web technology and web design and all of that, what career might you like to attempt that you haven't tried?
Well, if I weren't at Joost, I think I would have wanted to be a professor by now. I have a PhD in criminology, and I was teaching a totally different career. And I was teaching criminology, and I think I would have pursued that career if it wasn't for Joost. And
you might have your own TV show.
I could do that. Yeah, maybe I would. Yeah, sometimes I feel like that was something I was really good at as well. And I have some scientific publications, and they're still doing really well. So I got a lot.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah, but it's been like 8 years since, no more, I think, since the last time I wrote something like that. So it's like a different life I had back then. And sometimes I feel like, oh yeah, I missed that a little bit because I had to, I give that up. But that was my plan. I planned to be like a college professor by now. Yeah, worked out differently.
You should write a post on how SEO is similar to solving crimes, because there's some similarities in how you have to look for the keywords and figure out how it works, and that whole Google algorithm thing. There could be something there.
Yeah, often people ask me why I didn't do security, but I'm not interested in security. So my criminology career was really focused on why people commit crimes. So I'm really in the psychological, I've studied sociology. So in that part of people, why people don't commit crimes.
Yeah.
So I'm not into security. I could do that. I'm just going to think about the similarities between and criminology.
Yeah, I mean, there's got to be something there. And it'll be fascinating to read.
Yes, I'm going to do that.
What's something on your bucket list?
Well, we've been to Peru this year, so we visited Machu Picchu with all my children. So that was on my bucket list for quite some time. I don't know. I'm really satisfied. We want to go to Japan, but we're not going to do that this year. Maybe next year. I don't know. I think that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
I would like this company to grow further, but that's not a goal in itself.
Right.
So it needs to be fun and well, needs to be sustainable as well. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Well, I'm sure you'll think of other things as life goes on that you think,
Yes,
oh, we should do that.
So I think my life is great as it is. So I don't have, well, going some places is great, but that won't make you a lot happy. Or
so if I could give you a bucket list item, it would be to hear you do a TED Talk, because I think you could do a great TED Talk.
Oh, that would be a bucket list thing.
That's on my bucket list.
Yes, I'm going to put it on my bucket list as well. I would love to do that. Yes.
That would be cool.
Cool.
I have to look in ways to make it happen for myself. So if I figure it out, I'll share with you.
Yes, thank you. You do that.
You're welcome. What is, show us or tell us about a hidden talent that you have that the WordPress community might not know about.
Do I have hidden talent? Well, I told you that I was doing ballet, but I won't say that that's a hidden talent because I'm not that good. So I am really tall. Especially for American, I'm 6'1", which is for a woman is really tall. That's also not a talent. I didn't do it. But that makes me not a very good ballet dancer because ballet dancers usually are really short.
Petite,
but that's something I really enjoy. Good. Ballet. Yeah. But I think that's, I wrote a novel, but nobody wants to publish it. And it's in Dutch.
You could self-publish it.
Yeah, so I have to translate it first to get it. No Dutch. I wrote it in Dutch because that's the most convenient if you want to write like a book. Mm-hmm. And 3 people read it, my parents and Joost. And that's it. And they all really enjoyed it. And my mother, who isn't, well, she's lovely, but she's not the most, she doesn't hand out compliments very easy. She said, well, if I would have lent this book at the local library, I would have read it all the way through. So in her words, this was a huge compliment.
High praise, high praise.
My father really liked it, and Joost as well. But then I sent it out to like 10 publishers, but nobody wants to publish it. But you know, Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling didn't get her manuscripts published either until like later on. So that's true. Trying.
I wrote a book last year, not a novel. I wrote a book called A Good Firm Handshake and Other Essential Business Tips, and I self-published it through Amazon. So you could self-publish.
I'm really self-conscious. I would love to work with someone because it's like so I wrote a PhD, and the novel is like kind of story which resembles in the PhD, but it's not personal. It's not about me. Yeah. There's a lot in it, and it's a lot of conversations and stuff. And I would like to work with someone and make it better. Yeah. But then other things happened, like I became CEO of this company, and now I'm doing other things, and it's just there. And my father just asks every now and then, "Did you send it to another publisher?" And I'm like, "Oh, send it away." Nobody ever wants to publish.
We have a saying in English, I don't know if you have the same thing in Dutch, that we put it on the back burner.
Yeah, we have I know what it means, yes.
Yeah, so your book is on the back burner right now. It's still a little warm, but it's not the primary thing.
No, Yeah, no, that's true. And maybe someday I'll just start working on it again. I should read it again.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Because then you might get some ideas.
Yes.
What to do with it.
Yeah.
Very good. Last question is, tell us how we find, and I know we can find yoast.com and things like that, so, but tell us how we find you on social media, like on Twitter, and anything that you'd like us to know about the websites, you know, maybe, I know yoast.com, but maybe the Academy and things like that.
Well, as we do our SEO so very good, you can always Google me.
Very true.
So that's the first. I have my own website, which is Marieke, so my first name, marieke.blog, which, and I should blog more often, which is my personal website, and I write about company culture there. The Empower Women project is there, and I'm going to write a blog post just this year. I should write another one. And of course on yoast.com I do a lot of blogging. You can find me on Twitter. I'm at Marieke Rakt, which that's without the van de, which is weird Dutch. And I'm on Facebook. Also Marieke van der Rakt, I think, just my name. And then that's it. I'm also on Snapchat, but I don't understand that. I'm also on Instagram, but not that often.
Yeah, same here. I have Snapchat. I don't really understand how to use it. I don't, and when the things disappear, I'm like, I don't remember what we were talking about.
No, my son does it a lot though. So he doesn't do Facebook because that's for old people, and he does a little bit of Instagram, but he doesn't like sharing a lot about himself. So he does a lot of Snapchat.
Yeah.
Which makes, but he's very conscious about what he wants to share and what he doesn't want to share, which is
that's
a good thing. Yeah,
that's very good. Yeah, my daughter is 27, and so she's mostly in the Instagram crowd right now.
Okay, right.
And I'm 51, and I struggle to understand some of it, but I love Twitter and I love Facebook, so there you go.
Instagram isn't that hard.
No, it's not. I just forget to use it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, although Facebook is getting less fun, so now
I agree.
everything. If Twitter is angry as well. Well, sometimes not a good place to be. But Instagram can be angry as well. I got some bad comments on pictures as well.
Well, heading into 2020 with in the US with our presidential election next year, everything is angry. So there we go.
Yeah, that's
one
true.
of those things.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking time with me this evening. I appreciate it. I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I do want to say thank you, and thank you on behalf of the listeners for WP Coffee Talk. It's been wonderful to get to know you better. And I look forward to, hopefully we'll see you at some event over the next year. If you come back to WordCamp US, I'll see you there for sure.
I don't know yet, but you never know. Yeah, I would love to. It's just figuring out how to make my schedule work. No, we'll see.
If not, I'll message you on Twitter and we'll stay in touch.
Yes. Great. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much. And to everybody out in WP Coffee Talk land, we'll see you on the next episode.
Bye-bye.
Bye.